Level 1. The Boy in the Shop. You're 12 in Rome, not the Rome of senators and marble. Your Rome is the Suburra. Narrow streets, apartments stacked 6 stories high that lean like drunk men. Your father runs a grain stall near the Forum Boarium. He buys wheat from traders at the Tiber docks and sells it to bakers in the neighborhood. His hands are cracked from weighing sacks. His back is bent from carrying them. He makes enough to feed you, your mother, your sister, and pay rent on a 2-room apartment that leaks when it rains. You work the stall after your lessons, measuring grain into clay jars, counting bronze coins, asses and sestertii. You learn to spot counterfeit coins by weight before you learn to read properly. A merchant drops a coin on stone. If it rings, it's good. If it thuds, it's fake. Your father taught you that at 8. By 12, you can count faster than men 3 times your age. A baker named Quintus comes every morning. He buys 20 modi of wheat. He pays on time. Your father treats him like a brother. A tavern owner named Publius comes every week. He haggles. He complains about the price. He pays late. Your father smiles and adjusts the scale slightly when Publius isn't looking. Not cheating, balancing. Good customers get full measure. Bad customers get exactly what they pay for. That's the first lesson. Business isn't about grain, it's about people. Level 2. The Dock Runner. You're 16. Your father's back finally gives out. He can't carry sacks anymore. He sits behind the stall and you do the lifting. But you also start going to the docks yourself. The Tiber port at Ostia is 25 kilometers away. You ride there on a borrowed mule before dawn. The harbor is chaos. Ships from Egypt, from Hispania, from Africa. The smell of fish and cedar and spices hits you half a kilometer before you see the water. You meet the grain merchants at the warehouses, enormous stone buildings called horea. Each one holds enough wheat to feed a district for a month. The prices change daily. A storm in Egypt delays the grain fleet. Prices jump 30% overnight. A good harvest in Sicily floods the market. Prices drop. You learn to watch the ships. When the big Alexandrian grain carriers arrive, prices fall. When the docks are empty, prices rise. You start buying smarter than your father did. He bought weekly at whatever price they offered. You buy when the ships come in and store the surplus in a rented corner of a warehouse. You sell when the docks are quiet and the price climbs. Your first month doing this, you make 40% more profit than your father made in his best month. He looks at the coins you bring home and shakes his head. Where did you learn this? You say the docks. He says be careful. Men who make too much money too fast attract the wrong attention. You're 16 and you think he's being dramatic. He's not.
Level 3. The Trader. You're 21. Your father died last winter. Fever. Half the Suburra had it. You buried him outside the city walls with money you saved from the grain business. Your mother and sister depend on you now. The stall isn't enough. You need to expand. You approach a merchant named Gaius Petronius. He imports olive oil from Hispania, hundreds of amphora arriving monthly on cargo ships. He needs someone to distribute in Rome. You offer your services. You know the bakers. You know the tavern owners. You know every food seller in 4 neighborhoods. He gives you 50 amphora on consignment. You sell them in 9 days. He gives you 100. You sell them in 12. By the end of the year, you're his primary distributor in the Suburra and the Aventine. You take 15% of every sale. You're making more in a month than your father made in a year. You rent a warehouse near the Forum Holatorium. Small, damp, but it's yours. You hire 2 men to handle deliveries, freedmen, former slaves who work hard because they know what the alternative looks like. You're not just selling grain anymore. Grain, olive oil, garum from southern Italia, wine from Campania. You're becoming what Romans call a negotiator, a dealer. Not the senatorial class, not even close. Trade is beneath them. They call you vulgar. They call your money dirty. But they eat the bread your grain makes and cook with the oil you distribute. Your money spends the same as theirs. Level 4, the shipping investor. You're 26, you've outgrown the warehouse, you rent a bigger one near the Emporium, the commercial district along the Tiber. This is where the real money moves. You're watching ships come and go every day, and you realize something. The traders who own ships make 10 times what the traders who rent cargo space make. But a ship costs 50,000 sestertii. You don't have that. Nobody will lend to a grain seller's son from the Subera. So you find partners. 3 other merchants, each puts in 15,000. You put in your reputation and your distribution network. Together you buy a Corbita, a wide-bellied cargo ship, 70 tons capacity. You name her Fortuna because every Roman merchant is superstitious whether they admit it or not. Your first voyage is Ostia to Carthage and back, olive oil going out, grain and African pottery coming back. The round trip takes 40 days. The profit is 12,000 sestertii. Split 4 ways, your share is 3,000. In 40 days, you made what used to take you 6 months. But the risk is real. The Mediterranean is generous in summer and murderous in winter. Sailing season runs from March to November. December through February, the sea is closed. The Romans call it Mare Clausum. Every merchant who's lost a ship can tell you exactly which month it happened. November. Always November. A late voyage trying to squeeze one more profit run before winter. You swear you'll never sail in November. You will. Everyone does. Greed has a calendar and it doesn't respect the sea. Level 5, the wholesaler. You're 31. You own 3 ships now. You've bought out 2 of your original partners. The third, Marcus, stays in. He handles the Carthage route. You handle Hispania and Egypt. You're importing 500 tons of grain a year, 200 tons of olive oil, wine, garum, marble, anything that fits in a hull and sells for more on the other end. You rent warehouse space in Ostia and Rome. You employ 30 people, dock workers, warehouse guards, accountants who track every amphora with marks scratched into clay tablets. You also employ a nomenclator, a man whose job is remembering names. Every baker, every tavern owner, every official at the port. He whispers in your ear before you greet someone. That's Lucius. He owes us for 40 amphora. Smile but don't extend credit. That man saves you more money than any accountant. The Annona is your biggest contract, the state grain supply. The emperor feeds the people of Rome. Free bread for 200,000 citizens. That grain has to come from somewhere. Merchants like you bid for the contracts. The profit margins are thin, but the volume is enormous. And the real benefit isn't the money, it's the relationship. When you supply the Annona, you have the government's attention. Officials know your name. Bureaucrats take your meetings. Doors open that were sealed shut when you were a kid measuring wheat in clay jars. You win a contract to supply 2,000 tons of Egyptian wheat annually. The logistics are staggering. 30 ships, timing the grain fleet with the Etesian winds, coordinating storage at Alexandria, Ostia, and Rome. One delay and 200,000 Romans don't eat. The pressure is immense, but you deliver. On time, full measure. The same lesson your father taught you. Take care of the good customers.
Level 6, the magnate. You're 38. You're one of the largest private merchants in Rome. Your network stretches from Hispania to Egypt to the Black Sea. You own 12 ships, warehouses in 4 ports. You trade in grain, oil, wine, marble, timber, and slaves. The slave trade makes you uncomfortable, but it makes money. A healthy adult slave from Gaul sells for 2,000 sestertii. A skilled Greek tutor sells for 10,000. You tell yourself you treat them well. You tell yourself everyone does it. You stop thinking about it, because thinking about it doesn't change anything. It just makes the wine taste bitter. You've moved beyond trade into production. You own olive groves in Hispania, 400 acres, worked by slaves and freedmen. You own a garum factory in Pompeii, fish sauce. The Romans put it on everything. Your brand, stamped on every amphora, is sold across Italia. You've become what your father never imagined. Not just a merchant, an industry. The Senate doesn't trade, that's the law. Senators can't own commercial ships or engage in business directly, but they do it through proxies, through men like you. A senator named Lucius Cornelius approaches you at a banquet. He wants to invest, silently. His money, your operation. You split the profits. In exchange, he provides political protection. When a port official causes trouble, the senator makes a visit. The trouble disappears. This is how Rome really works. Not the Senate floor, not the law courts. Backroom deals between men who pretend they've never met. You're worth 2 million sestertii now. That puts you in the equestrian class, the second tier of Roman society. You can wear the narrow purple stripe on your toga. Your mother cried when she saw it. Her son, the grain boy from the Subura, wearing purple. Level 7, the political merchant. You're 44. Money isn't the game anymore. Influence is. You fund public works, a fountain in the Subura, a small temple restoration near the Forum. Your name is carved into the stone. You host banquets for officials, senators, magistrates, tax collectors. You give generously and strategically. A gift to the right aedile means your warehouse gets inspected last. A donation to the right praetor means your contract disputes get resolved favorably. You're appointed Sevier Augustalis, a priest of the imperial cult. The position is ceremonial, but it means everything. It's reserved for wealthy freedmen and merchants, people who have money but not noble blood. It's as high as a man like you can climb. You sit in reserved seats at the amphitheater. You wear ceremonial robes. You process through the streets during festivals. The boy who counted bronze coins in a grain stall now dines with men who govern provinces. But you're not one of them. You never will be. Roman society has a ceiling made of birth. No amount of money breaks through it. Senators tolerate you. They use you. They eat your food and drink your wine and take your money. But when the doors close, you're still trade, still vulgar, still the Subura. You know this. You've always known this. It doesn't sting anymore. You just build another fountain and carve your name a little deeper.
Level 8, the crisis. You're 50. A storm season destroys 2 of your ships off the coast of Crete. November, of course, November. 140 tons of grain at the bottom of the sea. Crew lost. The financial damage is 400,000 sestertii. Insurance exists in Rome, but it's informal. Loans with conditions. Your insurer, a banker named Decimus, pays 60% of the loss. You absorb the rest. Then the emperor changes the Annona contracts, new regulations, lower prices, higher quotas. Your margins evaporate. Competitors undercut you, younger merchants with newer ships and cheaper crews. A business partner defaults on a loan you guaranteed. You're liable for 200,000 sestertii you don't have liquid. You sell the olive groves. You sell 4 ships. You consolidate. The empire you built over 30 years shrinks by half in 1 year. Your senator friend disappears. He doesn't return your messages. Political protection evaporates the moment you stop being profitable. That's the second lesson. Relationships bought with money expire when the money does. You're still wealthy by any normal standard, but you've tasted 2 million sestertii, and now you're back to 800,000. The fall feels worse than never having risen. You sit in your warehouse at night, quieter than it used to be, fewer amphorae, fewer workers. You think about your father, his cracked hands, his bent back, his simple stall. He never lost 2 ships because he never had 2 ships. He never lost a senator's friendship because he never had a senator's friendship. He just measured grain honestly and went home to his family. Some nights, that sounds like the richest life a man could live. Level 9, the legacy. You're 60. You've stabilized, smaller than your peak, but solid. 6 ships, 2 warehouses, steady contracts. You've survived what destroys most merchants, not the storms or the politics, the ego, the belief that the climb only goes up. You train your son now. He's 22. He reminds you of yourself at the docks. quick with numbers, good with people, impatient. You teach him what your father taught you, full measure for good customers, watch the ships, count the coins by weight. You also teach him what your father never could, how to read a contract, how to negotiate with a senator, how to survive November. You take him to the Sabura sometimes. The old stall is gone. A fuller's shop occupies the space now, but you show him the street. You show him where you weighed grain at 12 years old. He doesn't understand why this matters. He will. On the wall of your warehouse in Ostia, there's a mosaic you commissioned, a merchant ship, full sails. Beneath it, an inscription, from the Sabura to the sea. Your father's name is there too. He never saw the ocean, he never left Rome, but every ship you ever launched carried his lessons in the hull. Measure twice, watch the coins, take care of the good customers. Rome will remember its emperors and generals, it won't remember its merchants, but every road was paved with taxes on trade, every temple was built with marble you shipped. Every loaf of bread started in a field you contracted. Rome doesn't work without men like you. It never did. It just never said thank you.